It was meant to be an ordinary day at Camilla's private country estate. A group of workers had been called in to check the house, fix small damages, and make sure everything was in good condition. They moved from room to room, tapping walls, checking for cracks, and taking notes. Everything was going as planned until they entered the bedroom of Tom Parker Bowles, Camilla's eldest son. While examining one of the walls, one worker noticed something strange. A slightly uneven line hidden beneath the wallpaper and layers of old plaster. At first, it seemed like a normal imperfection caused by time. Old houses often have cracks or marks that come from years of age, but something about this particular spot felt unusual. When the worker tapped it, the sound that came back was not solid, but hollow. This meant there was an empty space behind it, a hidden area no one knew existed. The crew quickly called in estate security, and soon palace officials were notified. Within minutes, the quiet room turned tense. Guards stood by the door, and whispers filled the air. What had started as a routine inspection was now turning into something far more serious. Something that could expose a hidden part of royal history that no one ever expected to find. When the officials gave permission, the workers carefully began to remove the old plaster. Every strike of their tools echoed through the room, each sound increasing the tension. Soon, the wall gave way, revealing a small, dark space behind it. What they saw was not a storage area or part of the building's design. It was a sealed-off corridor, narrow and suffocating, covered in dust and cobwebs. The air that escaped was stale, as if trapped for decades. Whoever had built this hidden passage had done so with clear intention, to keep something secret. The workers hesitated before stepping inside. The corridor was tight, barely wide enough for a person to walk through. It didn't look like an escape tunnel or a storage space. It looked like a place meant to hide something. As they moved deeper, their flashlights revealed a chilling sight at the very end. A heavy, iron-bound chest. The old box looked ancient, covered in dust, yet strangely well-preserved. It sat perfectly centered, as if someone had carefully placed it there long ago. The lock was rusty but still strong, showing that whoever hid it never wanted it opened easily. The group exchanged nervous glances. They knew they had uncovered something extraordinary. This was no accident. It was a deliberate secret buried inside Camilla's home, a secret that now waited to be revealed. After calling in higher authorities, the decision was made to open the chest. The air in the room grew heavy as everyone gathered around. With careful hands, one of the officials began to work on the lock. It resisted at first, as if trying to protect what was inside. Finally, with a metallic crack, it gave way. Slowly, the lid creaked open, and everyone leaned forward, expecting to see jewels, gold, or royal treasures. But there were no riches inside. Only old papers, tied together with faded ribbons. At first, the group was disappointed, thinking they had simply found old documents or letters. But as the papers were lifted out, the atmosphere changed completely. The handwriting was immediately recognizable. The letters were written by Princess Diana herself. They were not public speeches or official documents. These were private writings, personal thoughts and confessions, the kind that were never meant to be seen by anyone else. The pages were fragile, yellowed by time, but every word carried deep emotion. It was as if Diana's voice had been hidden in silence all these years, waiting for someone to uncover it. Everyone in the room understood the weight of this discovery. This was not treasure of gold or silver. It was something much more powerful. These writings could change how the world saw the royal family forever. As the officials began to read the pages, it became clear these were no ordinary notes. Diana had written about her loneliness, her pain, and her fears while living inside the palace walls. She spoke of feeling trapped, unseen, and unheard, even while being one of the most famous women in the world. Some pages were filled with sadness, and others with quiet strength. She wrote about her love for her sons, William and Harry, and her deep hope that they would one day live free from the pressures that had broken her spirit. The most shocking part was that these letters were never supposed to exist outside of her private world. They had been hidden, locked away, and buried, literally behind a wall. The question everyone began asking was, how did these letters end up inside Camilla's son's bedroom? Was this a coincidence, or had someone placed them there deliberately to be found one day? The discovery didn't just reveal Diana's words. It reopened old wounds in the royal family. It was as if the past had returned, refusing to stay buried. The letters reminded everyone of Diana's humanity, her struggles, her love, and her desire for truth. A truth that now had finally come to light in the most unexpected place. For Tom Parker Bowles, the discovery was deeply uncomfortable. Though he was not a royal by title, he had always been part of that world through his mother, Queen Camilla. Tom had built his own identity as a journalist and author, staying far from royal politics. But now, Fate had made him part of one of the greatest mysteries in modern royal history. The chest had been hidden behind his bedroom wall for decades, without his knowledge. It was ironic. Diana's most private words had been found in the home of the woman who had once been seen as her rival. For Tom, it must have been a moment of disbelief. As a writer, he understood the power of words, and now he found himself holding the words of a woman whose story had shaped an entire generation. The palace quickly took control of the situation, but for Tom, the emotional weight was real. Whether he wanted it or not, he had become the guardian of Diana's lost voice. This discovery blurred the lines between history, destiny, and coincidence. It showed how the past, no matter how deeply buried, always finds a way to return, especially when it carries the truth. When the news of the discovery reached Buckingham Palace, the reaction was one of shock and confusion. The royal family had faced many scandals before, but this was different. This was not a rumor or a story made up by tabloids. These were Diana's own words, written in her hand. The contents of the letters were not officially shared, but insiders said they were raw, emotional, and painfully honest. The palace was thrown into chaos. Some argued that the writings should be made public, to honor Diana's voice and show her truth. Others believed they should be locked away again, to protect the dignity of the monarchy. King Charles was said to be deeply affected. The idea that Diana's private words had been found inside the home of his current wife's son was almost too much to bear. It was as though his past had broken into his present life. The discovery brought back memories and emotions that had been buried for years. For the royal family, this was not just about hidden letters. It was about confronting their history, their mistakes, and their silence. The walls that had protected their image now seemed to be crumbling under the weight of truth. When Princes William and Harry learned about the discovery, it stirred deep emotions within both of them. For William, who carries the responsibility of being heir to the throne, the letters were a painful reminder of the mother he lost too soon. He worried that releasing her private words might turn them into headlines, used and twisted by the media. The very thing Diana had feared most. He wanted to protect her dignity, even if that meant keeping her writings secret. Harry, however, felt differently. To him, these letters were his mother's true voice. Honest, emotional, and free from royal control. He believed that the world deserved to hear her truth, especially after everything she had suffered. The brothers' reactions showed the same divide that has shaped their adult lives. Duty versus freedom. Protection versus openness. Yet, despite their differences, both shared the same pain. For them, this was not just about the monarchy. It was about love, memory, and the struggle to keep their mother's spirit alive. Diana's voice had returned, and now her sons faced the impossible choice of what to do with it. The discovery of Diana's hidden journals was not only shocking, it was powerful. These letters reminded the world why she was loved so deeply. Diana was more than a princess. She was a woman who connected with people through kindness, empathy, and courage. Her work with children, AIDS patients, and the homeless made her a symbol of compassion. Yet behind her smile, she carried heavy pain. Her private writings revealed that even in moments of public joy, she often felt isolated and misunderstood. Her words showed a side of her that the public never saw. Vulnerable, thoughtful, and deeply human. For decades, the royal family tried to manage how Diana's story was told. But the rediscovery of her own voice made that impossible. Through her letters, she spoke again. Not as a figure of legend, but as a real woman who wanted to be remembered honestly. It was this honesty that made her story timeless, and made the discovery of her hidden words so powerful. They gave her back the voice she feared would be silenced forever. After the shocking discovery, Buckingham Palace was shrouded in silence. No official statements were made, no interviews given. Only whispers behind closed doors. Queen Camilla was said to be deeply unsettled by the situation. For years, she had worked to rebuild her public image, turning from the woman once called the other woman into a respected queen consort. But now, this unexpected find in her son's room had reignited painful memories from the past. Memories of Diana's heartbreak and public humiliation. Insiders claimed Camilla was both shocked and embarrassed. The fact that these letters were found in her family's home was almost too coincidental, almost poetic in its cruelty. Some speculated that she feared the discovery could reopen old wounds in the eyes of the public, damaging the careful balance the royal family had built since Diana's death. Others said she privately felt sorrow, not guilt, but a human sadness that history had found its way back to her doorstep. She knew better than anyone how the public adored Diana, and now the past she had long tried to move beyond had returned stronger than ever. It was as if Diana's spirit had stepped back into the royal story, a reminder that time might heal wounds, but it never truly erases them. Once word of the discovery leaked, even before any official confirmation, the media storm was unstoppable. Every newspaper, talk show, and online outlet exploded with theories. Some claimed the letters were proof of a royal cover-up, while others said they could reveal Diana's final messages to her sons. Social media became a battlefield of emotion. Hashtags like Diana's Truth and In Hidden Letters trended worldwide. People shared memories of where they were the day Diana died, reigniting old feelings of love and loss. Younger generations, who had only known Diana through documentaries and stories, suddenly felt closer to her than ever before. The emotional wave was powerful and dangerous for the monarchy. Royal experts debated endlessly about what this meant. Would the palace release the contents? Would they claim the letters were fake? In the absence of clear answers, rumors filled the silence. For days, reporters camped outside Clarence House and Kensington Palace, hoping for even a single comment. But none came. The royal family, true to tradition, chose silence. Yet, in the court of public opinion, silence often speaks louder than words. People began to wonder, what exactly were they hiding, and why? Weeks after the discovery, a well-known royal historian named Dr. Margaret Elwood stepped forward with a revelation that stunned everyone. She claimed she had once seen references to similar letters in an old royal archive list that mysteriously went missing years earlier. According to her research, these documents were supposed to have been kept under strict palace supervision after Diana's death. But sometime in the late 1990s, records of their location vanished. Dr. Elwood's theory suggested that someone, possibly a royal insider or a trusted servant, had taken the letters to protect them from destruction. It's entirely possible, she said in an interview, that someone close to Diana feared her private writings would be locked away forever. They may have chosen to hide them somewhere safe, perhaps in a place no one would ever think to look. Her explanation gave the story a human element, a secret act of loyalty. If true, it meant that someone who loved Diana had risked everything to preserve her truth. And somehow, through fate or destiny, those words had resurfaced in the home of the very woman who replaced her. The story no longer seemed like a simple discovery. It began to feel like justice delivered by time itself. Behind the palace gates, a quiet war had begun. Advisors and communications experts worked day and night to control the narrative. Some argued that denying the letter's existence would only fuel conspiracy theories. Others said the best approach was to acknowledge the discovery, but downplay its significance, perhaps labeling the letters as personal reflections of no public importance. The royal household was divided. King Charles was reportedly heartbroken and deeply conflicted. He had spent years coming to terms with Diana's death and rebuilding a peaceful image for the monarchy. Now this discovery threatened to undo it all. Sources claimed he read excerpts from the letters in private, tears in his eyes. They reminded him of a woman he once loved but could never understand. Camilla, too, was said to be shaken. But she remained composed in public, carrying on with royal duties as if nothing had happened. But behind her calm smile, those close to her said she felt haunted. The more the palace tried to silence the story, the louder it grew. Every effort to hide it only made people more curious. History was unfolding once again, and the royal family found themselves powerless to stop it. As weeks turned into months, public debate grew more intense. Should Diana's letters be made public, or should they remain private out of respect for her and her sons? Advocates of transparency argued that Diana belonged to the people, that her words could shed light on the emotional truth behind her troubled marriage and royal life. She wanted to be heard, one supporter said, and now that her voice has been found, it should not be silenced again. On the other side, many believed the letters should remain sealed. They argued that Diana had written them in confidence, never expecting the world to read her most personal thoughts. Even Princess Catherine, Kate Middleton, was reportedly cautious, advising that protecting Diana's dignity was more important than fueling public fascination. Harry, living in California, remained outspoken. He hinted in an interview that some truths deserve to be shared, fueling speculation that he wanted the letters released. William, ever the protector of tradition,